Hey everybody, I'm Spencer Gregg. In this tutorial, you will learn how to start a new session in Pro Tools and the basics behind some terminology of the software. As much of this tutorial can get confusing or be an overload of information, don't be afraid to review the tutorial for steps you have missed. Also, following along with the tutorial with your own Pro Tools session as I explain each step can help you get a hands-on feel for the software. Okay, let's jump in. Look to the bottom of the computer screen at the application bar to find the AudioBox VSL application. Hovering over the applications will show the name of the software. Go ahead and open it. This software communicates the PreSonus AudioBox 1818 VSL audio interface that you learned about in the first tutorial to the computer. If any volumes are up on the hardware, you can most likely see the digital meter reading showing an input to the computer. Nothing on this application should need to be tampered with to have the hardware communicate with the computer. If there is a problem with this or any other major issue not discussed in the tutorial, be sure to check other tutorials or ask the IT department for assistance. Now to start a new Pro Tools session. The studio is currently running Pro Tools 11, which can be located in the application bar at the bottom of the screen. Click the icon and the program will boot up. There are two ways to start a new session in Pro Tools. Either you can go to the File drop-down at the top left of the screen and select New Session, or press the shortcut, which is Command-N. I suggest using shortcuts. As a side note, throughout these tutorials, you will learn many shortcuts that will make your engineering process much faster and smoother. With a faster process through use of shortcuts, you will spend less time searching for a button, and instead you can use your time for creating the masterpiece you desire. Alright, back to Pro Tools. Now that you have created a new session, you can see there are many options on the pop-up menu. I will go through each briefly to help you understand their functionality and purpose. At the top of the menu, you see Create Session from Template and Create Blank Session. If Templates is picked, Pro Tools brings up a list of templates that are either generic or have been created by users for specific recording functionality with a variety of channels and tracks started automatically. We won't worry much about those right now. Make sure for now that Create Blank Session is selected. Next comes Parameters. This consists of audio file type, bit depth, sample rate, and I/O settings. First, audio file types. BFW, wave extensions, is broadcast wave format. This recording format is used for most motion pictures, radio, and television productions. This file type provides seamless exchange of sound data between different computer platforms and applications, making it very useful across different audio software. AIFF file type is an audio interchange file format. This format has its pros and cons. For what is done in this studio, we do not need to use this format. A major con for this file type is that it is uncompressed, meaning that a file takes up much more space than a WAV or MP3 file. Almost 10 megabytes per minute of audio, this is about 10 times a WAV file. I suggest that you do not use the AIFF option for sake of file size. So, make sure that the BWF WAV files is selected. Bit depth in digital audio using pulse code modulation is the number of bits of information in each sample. This may sound confusing, but an analogy may help. Consider bit depth to be like the amount of pixels on a television screen. Having a higher bit depth will clear up the resolution, making the picture higher quality. The problem with using higher bit depth is that the computer then has to use more processing power. This can slow down your workflow, especially with Pro Tools, and hinder your process. The bit depth I normally use is 24-bit. This is great quality while not bogging down the computer speed. Sample rate is the number of times an analog signal is measured or sampled per second. The unit of sample rate is samples per second. This is often shown in kilohertz, or kHz. This is once again a personal choice. I normally use 48 kilohertz, but others prefer 44.1 kilohertz. Although this does not make a big difference in the mix's final outcome, sometimes it does matter when sending mixes out. For instance, a company may require their mixes to all be in 44.1 kilohertz for company standard protocol. This is not a big deal for now, so you can leave it at 48 kilohertz for this session. I/O settings is where you set up how playback and recordings will be recalled. Because we are using the PreSonus audio box for all input and outputs, everyone will be using the same I/O settings. I/O settings should be set to last used. This is because we most likely are not switching recording interfaces, and changing the interface settings will lead to a new string of issues within Pro Tools. You're now ready to click OK. After clicking OK, Pro Tools brings up a save screen. It is important to save your file in a place that you can easily recall, under a name that you will recall. Nobody wants to lose his or her files for a silly reason like file placement. I suggest setting up a folder inside Documents called Pro Tools Projects, then another file within Pro Tools Projects with the name of the band or group that is being recorded or worked on. For instance, my name is Spencer Gregg, so under Pro Tools Projects, I would place Spencer Gregg, then name the project accordingly and store the session within the Spencer Gregg folder. We will create a new folder for this project. Let's name it Test Projects. So click the lower left button saying New Folder and name it accordingly. Go ahead and push Create. Then in the Save As, we will name this one Test 1. Now save and up pops your new Pro Tools session. The first thing to note are the Mix and Edit windows. To toggle between these two screens, use the shortcut Command equal. The equal button is found next to Delete on the keyboard. The Mix window is where your channel strips will appear. The Edit window is where waveforms and MIDI recordings will appear and be edited. More about this will be talked about later. Next to note, before opening any new tracks, go to the drop-down bar Setup, then select Playback Engine. Here, you will see a drop-down menu of playback engines to choose from. Pick AudioBox 1818. This allows your Pro Tools session to communicate with the AudioBox interface. If the playback engine is not set to AudioBox 1818, select it. You will get a message that says Pro Tools will shut down and reopen, which is okay. This process just resets your configuration so everything works together. If the message comes up, press Yes, and Pro Tools will restart with the correct playback engine. You now have everything set up and ready to insert a new track. Click on the next tutorial, Tutorial 3, to learn about inserting new tracks and the components of its control channel. Once again, if anything was missed, be sure to review the tutorial until everything is clear. If there are any additional questions not covered by this or other tutorials, be sure to contact the IT department for further assistance. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next tutorial.